Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the
You sure?
Well, I don't know. We actually have a sign. We have a sign now.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Did you
our.
you forgot what our podcast was because the sign is covered?
Oh, is that what it is?
Oh.
We have a sign thanks
are we
to
sure it's a
our
sign?
amazing listeners, our patrons for continuing to support this, individuals who believe that this is a worthwhile, worthwhile use of privatized time in your ear holes.
Well, and
That's a great way to explain a podcast, right?
Exactly.
I also have to say, if you are one of our fans that not only listens to the podcast but follows us on YouTube, you might have got a sneak peek at what we're about to unveil
You
on
might
air
have.
today.
You might have.
Easter egg.
This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com and our dedicated listeners. My name is Neil, and I'm joined in Grandma's Couch Studio,
Jeff Shermani.
the Italian Stallion,
Our producer.
the producer.
And the maddest mad scientist that was installing hardware on an M38 today.
That is a
trying.
beautiful M38. If you're following along with Jeffrey's lives that he does on Tuesday afternoon. So again, our objective is to meet our Jeepers where they are at, and so whether that be on Facebook or YouTube or Insta or TikTok or whatever the platforms are. Obviously, just this season we have expanded to this morning show, this morning program on Mondays to also be on YouTube, and I know we've had some people who have joined us to view on there. Jeffrey's got a counter up in the lower right-hand corner.
Facebook's winning today.
If you are listening to us in your ear hole and you're on the road, you're on the press line, you're at the gym working out, we thank you for prioritizing, the time spent with us and listening to all things Jeep, automotive, and, just downright quirky about us, I suppose.
Know what would be fun?
What's that?
For them to message us where they listen to us. Like, let us know where you're listening to us. Are you at the gym? Are you in a meeting?
Are you in Antarctica?
meat.
Because we need Antarctica.
Yes.
Antarctica.
Who's gonna
Are
take
you
that?
listening? We are in 6 continents. We need 7. There's a total population of 36 in Antarctica. Somebody needs to download.
I don't care if you
and
just
get
play
some
the
listen time.
podcast for the penguins up there. I don't care.
Right.
Like, just let's make it happen.
You know what? We might have to do a penguin podcast in the near future.
Oh boy. So in the comments really fast, Amy is saying, good morning, guys. She's number 1. And then we got Giaga Jeepers. Good morning, guys. Daddy Jeep. Hey. And then Chip saying, morning, fellas. And of course, Giaga Jeepers is Team Facebook. So
There you go. Good morning to everyone out there who is joining us on the live. Do we want to reveal the sign? And so folks who are at home, who are not watching is what I should say. Folks who are not watching might know that we've had a mystery sheet behind us for a couple weeks now. And as Jeffrey mentioned, if you were an observant and you ran out and watched the YouTube video, first of all, thank you for that. But if you'll observe, it was actually fully exposed then. We have it covered up again for the big unveiling.
yeah.
And I think we should do that now.
I tried
before
to get
event
the
gets
Savage to
going.
come in and do it. He refuses to step on camera today.
Like
to do
Vanna White. He could have come in and just Vanna Whited the new signage for
it. Right?
us.
It would have been perfect.
If you recall, one of our humble beginnings of the podcast, and after we moved out of Old Blue, the CJ6, we were seated in front of an old equipment cabinet, which I think the Savage painted red for us. Didn't
Yes.
we have him back
Yeah,
there
he
painted
painted it.
red?
So if we're going to tell a story, got to tell it right, because he was appalled at the condition of this cabinet.
I was
That
not.
is true.
We thought it was cool.
I thought it was cool.
It had some
It
cool patina.
Yeah, there you go.
And Savage was not here for it. He does not to love the same laying out in the field for 3 years look that me and Neil like. So he took it upon himself early on. He didn't even know how to sand or paint or any of that sort of stuff. Kind of got to learn in the field in the moment, and actually did a nice job.
Right.
And then we had to work on sheen How shiny is it?
It came out so glossy.
It was so glossy, and it was actually real shiny on the camera.
We learned some things about
did.
how we present to our viewers and everything.
That's how we like to do stuff,
Yep.
accidentally on purpose.
We learned everything the hard way. But then it said it was, so we painted the cabinet red because if you know anything about me,
Well, it was red before too, but still.
was it red, Jeffrey? I mean,
There was definitely hints that it was red at one
it might
point.
have been red 40 years ago. It was not red anymore. But then it was stenciled, beautiful stenciling said "I Speak Jeep" on it as well. So this is paying homage to that. We're going to go ahead and pull the sheet back.
For those that are listening, Neil's standing up with his back to the camera, reaching across and grabbing the drape and pulling it down. There's the reveal.
Yay!
And that is a scripted sign that says "I Speak Jeep," and it lights up much like a neon sign, but it is LED, in fact. And there's a certain type of LED that it's called. And Greg was elaborating on the different types for us.
Yeah.
But it is able to do different brightnesses, different functionalities with like a flashing or
It has a remote.
flickering.
I'm going to turn it up, I think. I don't know.
I think it's all the way up.
I think is it all the way up? So the thing is, it looks really good on the
You can just press
YouTube
the
cameras.
percentages on the remote.
You know what? I was actually going the wrong direction with it. So looks really good on the YouTube
Point it in
camera.
the corner, not at the light.
And it's got a nice black background thanks to Jeffrey. Kind of made it pop off the wall a little bit. And it's just a cool neon sign, kind of inspired by our how we oftentimes, kind of that neat Art Deco automotive, kind of the nostalgia, the romance of our vehicles and stuff that
Well, and Brad Davis said it best, very sexy.
it is.
So,
Right.
and then, happy Monday, Brad. Obviously, he's in the comments. Bill's saying good morning, and Roy's saying good morning. So,
Good morning to everybody joining us. So yeah, that's the sign that you all bought, and we thank you for that. It was not a cheap date, and to have a custom sign made that is neon inspired is a pretty cool thing. And we'll be sure to show it off if you do come into our facility. Oftentimes we do what we call the 10-cent tour, and show you kind of the fun projects that are in the works. And objectively, we're going to be able to, this kind of glows this nice red that you can see, in the restoration area. And I think that, it just kind of embodies the cool, the cool nature of how we blend both the nature of our brand, the rugged individualism, with a little bit of sex appeal, right? So we have the industrial automotive with just, a splash of flash, if you will. So.
and then Leslie Ann saying good morning. And Joe Harper was paying attention this weekend and saw it in the lift kit vid.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, and if you're not sure, go out and check out that that video that we dropped on YouTube. It's a bit of a tell-all, and I tell people in that video what the #1 POS lift kit on the market is for JK Wranglers.
Dun, dun, dun.
And you might want to check that out. So yeah, and we will have the lights on, and so if you're stopping in for the 10-cent tour or Christmas parade coming up and kind of some open house type experiences. Christmas parade is Black Friday. We're looking to fill that out pretty substantially. So put that on your calendars, folks.
Absolutely. And then today's episode is the Art of Audio Install. We're continuing the art series. And again, that's the first Monday of each month. We're going to make sure to focus in on those topics.
The arts.
The arts. So, I guess we move on to weekend updates before we get to the main topic.
I agree.
Okie dokie. So in my world, Saturday after work, we took a trip down and saw some customers at a cool little craft show.
We weren't invited, Jeffrey, just so you know.
We totally could have gone.
That's fine.
No, you didn't invite me.
No, you left us out.
You left us out. You had a good idea.
I even commented to you about that sounding like it'd be a cool craft show, and there was never an invite.
No, you weren't like, oh, hey,
Like
you know
didn't
what?
tell me you were going. I mentioned
hey,
it to
I
you.
might be going, guys. Or, oh, hey, guys, Dan was talking about this cool thing. And,
No, I operate. We just randomly do things. So
yeah,
uh,
well, I'll remember
we
that
didn't have
next
a
time.
plan until
Yep.
we're
And
actually doing
this
it.
was in Conneaut Lake, not
Right.
Conneaut.
Lake, yes.
Not
despite
Conneaut,
despite
Ohio.
Dan thinking it was Conneaut, Ohio.
Yes.
It was very confusing for him. You know what? I think the funny piece is I've actually lived on the outskirts of Conneaut Lake, and I obviously live in Conneaut, Ohio. And I'm amazed at being in both locations and how many people confuse the two of them.
Oh,
And there's-
so easily.
There's a
lot.
45-minute drive distance between the two. If that's a normal drive, obviously Jeffrey and I could probably make it there faster. But if you're taking the main drags and going the speed limit, there's a 45-minute difference. And as a kid, I remember people swinging by my house going, "Where's the park at?" Like driving by. 'Cause
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, we didn't have GPS.
They're
then.
looking for the beach in Conneaut Lake.
Yes.
And they're looking for the beach or the little amusement
The
park.
amusement
then,
park.
you
If
know?
you're up
We're
here,
like,
you're looking for the amusement park down there.
yeah. Oh my gosh, so funny.
Growing up
So
in
funny.
Erie, it was always, are you talking about Conneaut West or Conneaut South of here?
Yeah.
Because that was how you made that distinction for people.
Yep,
Makes
absolutely.
sense.
So, anyways, Scott's telling us about when he left us out intentionally and didn't invite us to a really cool, kind of fun fall-inspired activity.
So it is. From what I can tell, they're restoring the hotel there. And they had the
It's
venue.
haunted.
I was getting there. Jeez. They had the venue in the ballrooms.
Do you know Jeff is wearing his spooky season hoodie? He's been wearing it for
So excited.
11 weeks now.
I know.
It was 4th of July, and the 4th of July parade got over, and he put on his spooky season
Yeah, pretty much.
hoodie.
To ride the mini Jeep back to the shop from the parade route.
Right. So it will come as no surprise that he is the kid who's here to ruin your story over
Yes.
anything that's autumn, fall, Halloween inspired.
Pretty much. So for those
The
that
only thing
haven't
missing
seen
is
it,
a pumpkin spice in my coffee.
oh jeez. So
You basic.
Go ahead. Say it.
Beep. That's what I meant.
anyway, so you have this beautiful white vintage hotel. We're literally on a lake. You can literally look out the windows and see it. It was pretty awesome. They did have a psychic fair there as well. Then you could do a ghost tour. They had ghost hunters there. There was lots of Halloween inspired stuff. Of course, there were crystals and rocks there, which is what our jam is. So we were all about that. As we were leaving, we was able to do an awesome Jeep in the wild Jeep, sort of on purpose, parked beside each other with Dan's awesome Gladiator. We just put 35s on, so it was pretty cool to have Celeste on 35s and on their Mojave on 35 side by side. And this is, I know he sort of listens. What's the Glad's name? He names all the other Jeeps. Why
Yeah, I don't
why
know.
doesn't the Glad have a name?
I thought it did have a name. I don't know. But it's, and the fun thing about this is 35s are not inherently special by,
No.
today's standards, but they're cool when you stick them on a stock Jeep.
Yes.
Right. And, we talk about the low center of gravity build video I recently did, and we did the lift kit video I recently talked about. There's something to be said by today's standards, and thank you, Jeep engineers, for finally listening to us. We just want to stuff big tires on our vehicles.
Yep.
With
You
minimal work.
With minimal work.
Yes. And us old timers that remember how hard it was to put 35s on something appreciate it, that we can just
Right. 35s are
lazily-
the new 33s, basically.
Yes.
Or 31s even.
I'd argue to say they're almost 30s in the, which makes me sad. But anyway,
It should. It should make you sad.
so it was a great.
When you say you were sort of in the wild, like you kind of stumbled over that, like, I don't know, 11 times since we've been talking. So where were you guys? I saw the picture. It was just a wide open parking lot.
It was the parking lot for the
For the
venue,
event.
for the event.
Oh, okay.
But so the funnest part of it is I could spot theirs is a beautiful blue, the same as Jeff's, and I could spot that forever. But they
Is it the same as Jeff's? Is it Team Hydro?
Yeah, it's Hydro.
Oh, okay.
but because it was an amusement park, there is still rides there at various states of togetherness.
Functionality. Yeah.
And they had temporary fencing, all of it, all over the place. So you could go in one gate, but not another one. You could see this road, but then they took you down a dirt path. And so I could see the Jeep way before I saw the hotel.
Mm.
And I'm like, I know they're there. So I just need to figure out how I get there
Mm-hmm.
without making people mad. Because I'm a Jeep. I can get there. But
Right.
I'm
Can I
trying
get
to
there
do it
responsibly?
the nice way. So
Yes.
I finally was able to thread the needle and figure out how to get back over to their parking
Fair.
lot.
Fair.
And like true Jeepers, the main lot was just packed, and Dan wisely chose not to park there.
Yeah.
So, and I was able to, when we initially parked, be down the row from Dan. And I'm like, if it works out, on like come back out, I'm going to totally just stage and take a picture.
Ah, I see.
And luckily, people had vacated that back row, and I was able to just pull up beside them.
I think there is something about our Jeep culture. We do tend to park out away
Yes.
from people. Maybe that speaks something to
the
you know.
road less traveled.
Yeah, the road less traveled.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Then Sunday, my wife had to work, and so I do, cleaning house, laundry stuff to try to take some load off of that. And then when she got home, I was like, we need to go to the beach. So fired up the 36. It was a gorgeous day. It actually had like,
amazing fall day.
it's like had a 80% chance of rain in the morning, according to Scott's thing, which we know is not
It was
always
all
right.
over the place. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was all over the place.
and it was
yesterday.
The storm went south because I drove through it.
It was unseasonably warm day
was.
for October.
Yep.
So we rolled down all the windows, went down there, saw lots of other classics out doing the exact same thing, parked, filled up the art. We started just taking a bucket because we like rocks so much. So we were filling up our bucket. Finally,
metaphorically and literally.
Yeah,
is what I
Literally.
hear.
Yep.
yes. So anyway, finally,
He put the big rocks in first. He knew what he was doing.
Okay.
they had the waves were so serious about their job that it was very hard to go get the good rocks and not get wet. So I finally just was like, I'm done. I'm taking my shoes and socks off, walking through the sand, and it actually was very, very good. So
Good.
and then it was real fun. It really did get dark off the lake, and my son, you're going to get wet. What about the car? We can't let the car get wet. And I said, son, it's 88 years old. It's been wet
It's
before.
been wet before.
It's going to be wet again. It'll be okay.
Yep.
And it just barely threatened us. We had a
Yes.
couple big drops, and then it quit. But there was enough drops that they booked it to the car, and
Yep.
they were rolling up windows, and he's in full panic mode. And
Yep.
and
The drops were like the size of nickels. They
Yes,
were
they
amazing.
were
I saw them.
huge.
At first, they started to come down. I was like, "Oh, is that hail?" But it was
Yes.
just huge raindrops.
Yes. Yes.
And my Jeep was topless at the moment, and I was just like, "It was wet. It's been wet before. It'll be
It'll be
wet
okay."
again. It's just a topless Jeep."
But
you
it
know?
actually was nice because we were there long enough that we watched the front move south, and it was just a beautiful sky after it.
Did you catch any of the northern lights? They were out. It was very minimal.
It did get dark
viewability
enough
for us.
for us to see that. I think we would have had to be there a little bit later than that.
That, and you need where we were at. You really needed the camera with the extended exposure
Yeah.
to get a good view
Sure.
of it.
Yeah, after the big raindrops, the kids were like in full panic, like we gotta go home.
Yeah.
So
All right, Jeffrey, how was your weekend?
So it started off with Saturday doing some yard work, trying to get that final mow in for the season. Hopefully. But and I got a text from my parents asking if I was coming to Erie at all this weekend, and I was like, nope, not planning on it at all. Oh, okay. Well, if you were, we were going to ask to borrow a tool. Well, what tool? Your fish tape. Okay, cool. This, you must be doing some lighting project or electrical project, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday morning, I get a text again saying, hey, would it be possible that you come to Erie to help with a lighting project?
Nice.
I'm like, well, what's going on? And they said that my aunt and uncle who just road trip down to Florida and are literally trying to book it back from Florida away from
Sure.
the hurricane now. They wanted a light installed in a room. They currently only had a hanging light against the wall, basically. So they wanted to move it out into the center of the room, put a ceiling fan in. So I cool, I'll meet you out there. What time? They told me about 2 p.m. So this is 9 in the morning. Cool, we've got some time. We relaxed a little bit around the house. We're like, we're going to go to Perkins in Edinburgh on the way out to the property and have a nice lunch. We go to walk out the house, and across the street is one of my elderly neighbors on a ladder in a tree. And I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. So I have to go see what's going on. I walk over, and I'm like, why are you on a ladder? They have a baby raccoon that they rescued, and they tried to do a soft release last night, or the night before, and the raccoon climbed up into the tree and just stayed there.
Oh no.
So we're at almost 20 hours of this raccoon hiding in the same spot, hasn't eaten. Now they're
Sure.
panicking.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get to the raccoon. So what do
they-
I do?
They rescue this baby raccoon. They nurse it of some sort.
Yes.
Now they're trying to do a release,
A soft
appropriate-
release, yeah.
And now the raccoon.
It's not having
Why?
it.
Why do these things happen around us? Okay.
So
Yep.
so it got
I'm
the
following.
raccoon got scared. So I never got to rescue a cat as a firefighter. So why
Oh,
not rescue a raccoon?
shoot.
So there I was in the tree.
Uh-huh.
The ladder that I used to get up to this branch, I was now using to try to give it something to climb down onto.
So you pull the ladder up.
I pulled the ladder up,
So now you're just up in the tree.
holding a ladder outstretched.
Yes.
Uh,
I saw the picture of this, folks.
I know
It's-
because you asked me if I was busy, and I said, yeah, and you're not going to believe why. So I just sent you the picture.
Yep.
So, we spent about a half hour trying to coerce this raccoon to come back out of the tree. Unsuccessful. I ended up propping up some metal shelving that I had in the garage in the branches, so it had some areas to climb down on, much like a cage would be set up where they would have
Uh-huh.
the metal rungs to climb down.
Okay.
And said, we got to go do this stuff. If we come back and it's still up there, I'll get the big ladder out and we'll go get the raccoon out completely. So then we proceed to Perkins in Edinburgh and everybody orders breakfast foods. And Lily, our 7-year-old, super excited to get pancakes and bacon. So excited that they set the plate down in front of her. She immediately starts shoveling bacon in, and 2 bites in is already full choke. Is
Oh.
absolutely choking.
Oh no.
Jeez.
So now, in the middle of Perkins, I am helping rescue her from choking. The entire restaurant is at standstill, just watching.
Jeff.
And I can literally hear people, "Oh my God, she's choking!" The murmurs and stuff. And I'm just like, "This is how it's going to be today."
This is your day.
So, fortunately, she was okay. She somehow managed to not lose her food either. I don't know. She
was
just spit out that little bit that she was choking on and
just kept going.
kept going. She was happy as could be after that.
Of course.
Yeah,
dear.
it was interesting. It was a big enough scene that there was an elderly couple on the other side of the restaurant that when they left, they stopped by the table and wanted to note that they were proud of how fast I reacted and was able to take care of that because they were from the back side of the restaurant thinking, do I need to run over and help this family?
Oh my.
So that's how big of a spectacle this was at that moment.
Wow.
Then we get to Edinburgh. It's now 2:30. We're behind where we said we would be to get there. And I walk into this room and they've got this little hole drilled and they're like, that's where we want the light to go. Okay, do we know where the studs are? I kind of pinged everywhere. Okay, so I grab the stud finder and I place approximately where I think the studs are. I'm like, all right, we should be good. I drill up through with a 4-inch hole saw, got a nice circular hole for this. And then they proceed to tell me that they want to connect to that junction box over there. And I'm like, well, that means we have to drill through to about 10 studs to get to that junction box.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, you don't think there's that many there? Yep, I do. So now I'm cutting a strip of ceiling out all the way across,
Yep.
get that out of the way. And there's no insulation in there, which they all thought there was insulation. So that was a big surprise. I was sending pictures to them down in Florida. And then I had to run the wire through. And I went to put the light in and we had the wrong base. And I'm like, this is not going to work for a ceiling
Oh
fan.
dear.
So kind of said, you know what? This is a good stopping point. We've got the wire run. You guys can repair the drywall. I'll come back on Wednesday. We'll finish the install. So that's where that got left. And we were literally just talking through how we were going to close that up when that storm that you guys were talking about was supposed to hit here actually hit Edinboro. I mean, it was thunder cracking, and the nickel-sized raindrops were just the ponds out at the property were a mess. I'm like, we got to go.
Right.
So that was we rushed out of there to get away from the storm, and I'm thinking we're going to drive the whole way through it because that's usually what happens. No, I get to about Conneaut, and I'm like, it doesn't look like it rained here. Get to Kingsville, it's even drier. Get to home, and it's nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
all
it
turns
never
south.
even.
Yeah, that was a big one. National Weather Advisory and everything. So.
Yeah. But that was the weekend. Not many people can say that they got to. Oh, I did get home and have to actually rescue the raccoon. So I did go up with a big ladder and go up and literally use a net to scoop it with and drag it down.
Right.
Which the raccoon named Miko from Pocahontas
Fitting.
was very excited to be back with its mom, my neighbor.
The neighbor.
So
yeah. They're going to have to either figure out how to do a better release or
I don't think they're
just-
going to release this one.
Just
they,
make it a pet.
They have had a pet raccoon in the past.
Okay.
They were trying to do a release on this one. I don't know that they will now because I think that scarred them.
All right. We need to talk about Jeeps because this is a Jeep podcast. So
Well,
we need
real
to-
fast did you have any weekend updates?
I had tons, but we are doing art, right? We're doing art of audio install, and we'll have to, our Patreons or something will have to pay attention to my weekend updates because it was pretty normal stuff for me. So where do we come in with audio installation? SFJ 4x4 is not a 12 volt shop.
Nope.
Nope.
Um,
But we'll do it.
but we'll do it, right?
Yes.
And so the big piece that that oftentimes we share with people is we will take the same approach and professionalism that that we would otherwise with any of our other with other of our other good works, and and do audio. And so I like to think that the manner in which we approach audio work is with a little more rigor when it comes to specifically how you, our listener, our viewers, how you actually use your Jeep.
Yes.
A Jeep wiring and audio is different than if you were to go to a 12 volt shop and they're going to set up a unibody car and give you all the beats, right? All the good bass. Likewise, I feel similar about like our towing kits, and I'm not going to get into that as well. But when you go to a trailer outfitter or a U-Haul or something, they don't care where they put their trailer plug. It just hangs out low, and so it could scrape off of an obstacle. As far as our audio, we're typically choosing what we would call to be more reputable brands. Kind of better quality as far as the actual audio output is concerned.
Marine grade when applicable.
And marine grade when applicable. Likewise, we're trying to choose manufacturers who want to prioritize the Jeep market as well.
Yes.
It's one of the things that I try to share with enough frequency as possible is the idea that we're an independent entity, and so therefore we don't have to sell any one specific brand. Our objective is to sell a product into the market that is really geared towards meeting your needs, or the average Jeeper's needs, or who is prioritizing the Jeep industry itself.
Yep.
One of the brands that Jeffrey is specifically good at installing is Alpine, which has a stronghold in the Jeep aftermarket audio.
It integrates the best with Jeep out of anything out there currently.
Yep. DS18, which has prioritized Jeep audio, speakers and subwoofers, systems, pod boxes, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
And
They make good sound bars too.
they make great sound bars. Insane Audio was a manufacturer we saw incredibly popular under the JK platform. I don't know that we see a ton out of them at this moment, but they do offer quality integration with Jeeps. And we did do quite a bit of their product installs. I think that we've just, if you came in wanting that kind of product, we can give you that. But again, the objective is to give people the best possible product for how they're using their Jeep. And so what are some of those kind of specifics or specialties that go into choosing sound systems and head units and speakers and pods? Like, where does somebody start, and why do they make, our customers, our friends, ourselves, what is it? Where does a Jeeper start?
I think oftentimes one of the primary questions is, what are you hoping to gain from a new sound system? Are you looking for better quality and louder sound when you're topless? Are you leaving the top on all the time and you don't actually need that type of sound? You need more for an inside type sound. Are you using the wireless functionalities of CarPlay and Android Auto? Those are all things that are applicable when choosing a quality system, knowing how you're going to use it and what you need out of it.
I mean, 100%. And I think that it's interesting because, as Jeepers, we all kind of come to it. Again, the Jeep is an extension of the owner themselves. And so whatever your priority is, then the Jeep becomes a reflection of that. We have some people who say, hey, I don't even need a stereo. I like Beats, but I've driven plenty of vehicles with non-functioning stereos because I just like to listen to the engine. I like to listen to the hum of the road or the hum of the trail. I like to listen to the exhaust. Jokingly, I remember one of you, implying that I'm some type of sociopath because we ended up driving the big rig to the Carolinas with no stereo whatsoever. I had both little kids and my wife, and we drove the entire, 14 hours because, again, it's a big truck and trailer, so it takes extra long. We drove all the way down and back in the first year of owning it with no stereo whatsoever. And I kind of feel like it was you, Jeffrey, and you were like, what were you doing or what were you thinking? I'm like, I didn't even notice. You know what I mean?
I think it was Greg that actually called you out on that.
Do you think it was Greg?
Yeah.
And I don't even remember.
Greg really likes his Beats.
He loves his music, right?
Yeah.
He loves his music. And, and I guess I didn't even think anything of it because I'm just listening to the truck hum,
Right.
Yeah.
Or talking to the family. And of course, the problem with the truck is then you're shouting to each other, which is another issue because, as you mentioned, in a topless Jeep, you can run into kind of the same problems.
Yep. To me, it really matters on the vintage or type of Jeep that you're trying to plan it for. And I would say the older the Jeep, the more you are just for the experience. So you don't necessarily care about sound. Example, not Jeep related, but in my 36 right now, I have intentions of putting a radio in, but I haven't. And honestly, I haven't missed it at all this summer because I'm listening to the motor. I'm listening to the experience. I'm in the aura of the Jeep. And so something that's a Willys base, I would say most people are just going to listen to that, T90 hum, to the 18 make noise, to the tires, and just be in that moment. So then we get into our 60s and 70s vehicles where we kind of expect a little bit more. It's a little bit more than just a little side-by-side type vehicle. So now we kind of want to have something playing, but maybe we don't have carpet. Maybe like a CJ5, we don't even have a top. We have a bikini at best. So now if you're out and you're brave and you're, a couple hours from home and you get that random pop-up shower, you're getting wet. You're going to have to embrace the Jeep life. Well, you don't want to have, for example, a paper cone speaker in a location that is now going to get drenched because that speaker will not be good after that.
Hold on a second. We got to break that down because Jeffrey had already mentioned marine grade components.
Yep.
And you're talking about a paper cone. So
Yes.
somebody who's listening at home or watching, what does that mean?
So on your speaker itself, you have a couple different components. You're going to have the part that actually attaches it to the vehicle or to the box or whatever you want to call it. That's called the chassis. And then you're going to have the part that actually moves back and forth to make the sound.
That
is
creates
your,
the sound waves coming out of it, right?
That is your cone, and you're going to have a magnet on the back of that actually controls that cone. And then you're going to have some sort of material that allows that cone to move. So you're going to sometimes have foam, sometimes you're going to have kind of a cloth, sometimes
Some type of composite.
Yeah, there's a ton of different mouse traps.
Yeah.
So when me specifically, I'm looking at a radio or sound system for an older Jeep, I'm looking at the cone material it's made out of. The way, is it foam? Is it not? Because again, that's something, if you get soaked with water, it's not going to come out of that well. How am I protecting it? Even with that said, where can I put the speakers? There's a certain sizes you can put on like say example a CJ dash, and others don't work. I can't have the giant magnet on the back of it because I have other things back there that need to compete for space.
Right. It has to be more of a shallow mount type
On top of
structure.
that, you can't have a tweeter in the middle of your speaker that sticks out a lot because you can't use the grill that comes with the speaker. You have to flush mount it from behind. So now you have to space off that speaker if you have one of those to not just destroy the speaker when you hold it down. There's a lot of things going on with just speakers that require thought.
Right. That actual physical construction of the speaker, I don't think that a lot of people oftentimes take that into consideration. Oftentimes you're looking at price point or a brand that you recognize.
Yep.
But even if it's a brand that you recognize and a price point that is advantageous to you, the design of the speaker itself might not even be conducive to installation in one of our vehicles.
Correct. And then again, since we're on the vintage side, next thing is, do you want to cut your dash or not cut your dash? So vintage Jeeps had 2 knob style vintage radios from the factory or none. So
right, you could have had a flat panel there where it just
Correct.
it was a radio delete option.
Yes.
In our older vehicles.
So a lot of people, it should have a 2 knob radio. That is what they prefer. Luckily, we have a couple different companies that do a retro sound package. So they make a radio that fits in the dash. You don't have to cut that. Allows you to kind of move things around and allows you to make phone calls, have Bluetooth connectivity, all those new fancy.
It has the
whiz-bangs.
Apple CarPlay
Yeah.
or the Android Auto, as Jeffrey was,
You
mentioning.
You have sub, pre-outs, that kind of stuff. So you can have a today sound system with a vintage look.
Yeah, I like to call it wolf in sheep's clothing because it fits with the overall aesthetic of the vintage, the Resto mod, but it doesn't look like a single din, and it's important to note that kind of common vernacular is that basically vehicles produced in the 80s and 90s for the most part were considered single din. Then you had a din and a half, which is quite literally 1.5 of those,
Which is what your TJ was and that kind of thing.
TJ.
Your YJ was a single din.
Right. And then you end up with a number of vehicles that have double din, which is basically the depth of 2 of those stacked on top of each other.
Out of curiosity, does anybody know what they're calling it now in like the 2025s where you've got a computer screen for your radio?
I think we've been at that point in time, and I we're not the most on the forefront like we are on so many other things, but we just go by the size, right?
Right,
So the
yeah.
Uconnect 7,
It's
the Uconnect
8.4,
9, the
yep.
8.4, the Uconnect 12,
Yep.
and so we're just doing just like a flat screen TV. We're measuring at that diagonal to give us the the overall size,
Yep.
and therefore they just kind of generically label that, because you're right, we are moving towards just having a tablet mounted on the inside, and Stinger, which is a brand that we didn't bring up, which is kind of a cool off-road brand, or Jeep brand. They have been running the
Bigger
big
displays.
display for years now.
Yeah.
It's really kind of funny. We actually brought this up on a recent work trip as we're passing cars or they're passing us. We're looking at, just glancing inside the other vehicles, and there was a Toyota truck that went by that literally they don't even care now about putting it in the dash. You just
Right.
have a big screen TV fixed to the front of your dashboard, and that's perfectly okay.
Right. It's not even
Yes.
recessed into
It
it.
can't be. It's
Yeah.
so big.
Yeah.
it's I was like, oh my God.
Well,
like-
and it's so fascinating because we have all these no texting, no distracting. Of course, anybody who was around in the 80s, 90s, everybody read newspapers and
Yes.
wrote notes on paper and
read
pencil.
novels. Read novels driving down the
and
DC
I can
Beltway. I mean,
confess-
Right?
I can confess that is still alive and well, but they're doing it on their phones now. As you should not be, but
And the thing is
anyway.
that we're pulling people over left and right for that, which is fine, because obviously distracted drivers are not what we want on the road. But we are now putting big screen TVs, which
Yes.
obviously you're not supposed to watch movies on while you're driving. I get that, but there's still a ton
there's a million
of stuff to
different ways
look at
people
and
have
get
figured out
distracted.
to be able to watch movies on those.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I can see the struggle with the newest Jeeps on how do we make it, all those things we've already mentioned in the vintage world, allow for you to be competitive with that Toyota truck that's got a big screen TV affixed to its dash, but still have something that you can take the top off, that cannot get damaged off-road. And I think that's why we see in the 24s them try their darndest to make as big as they can, almost, jokingly half the dash,
Sure.
Yeah.
It is.
but still be compact more than, say, that Toyota truck that we passed.
Right. So you were bringing us through. We have the wolf in sheep's clothing,
Yep.
kind of the retro sound inspired. And the thing is, I guess I was gonna kind of make this stomping ground later in the flow of things, but I think I'll say it now. Bluetooth or hands-free calling is not well supported in any aftermarket platform.
No.
It's my opinion that even if you buy one of the best hands-free stereos and you put it into a car, it's still not as good as one that is engineered into that car.
Right.
I don't have a great explanation why, because I'm not a stereo manufacturer, but anytime that I've seen a 12-volt shop installation of an aftermarket stereo into a car or van or whatever, the hands-free is okay. It's not as good as
I think
right from the factory.
I think
right?
the key of that is being in a little bit exposed to the engineering world. When they're engineering a car and they want to have a nice sound, they have to look at the entire anatomy of the cabin, where the speakers are,
Yes.
what the mic is going to be placed, and they try to pick the best place possible. Because they're designing the vehicle, they can kind of do that. Well, when you're doing it aftermarket,
Right.
now you have certain constraints that you basically have. I can put it there, or not.
Sure.
Well, that and the fact that they're designing wind channels into the design of the microphone,
Yeah.
the placement of it, they're able to use a higher quality microphone than
Yep.
what you're getting with most aftermarket radios. And you can buy a different microphone. You can look at Pro Audio lapel mics and install those. They will work, but you're adding a lot of extra cost than what the radio itself is.
And you
Sure.
still may not be able to optimize the location placement of it.
Right. You're still going to deal with wind noise if you're in a topless Jeep.
Correct.
And that was and that was going to be kind of my hill to die on, if you will, is that if you are in a topless Jeep or even a soft top Jeep where there is just excessive wind drag noise, your hands-free calling ability will never be that of a fully enclosed, cabin of a unibody. Say you take a Grand Cherokee or something to that effect.
Right.
Where it's sound insulated.
Where the roof is fully sound insulated and there is an intention to dampen the outside sounds. I don't remember which manufacturer it was, whether it was Honda or Toyota or something. And I remember their ad was basically, they had all these like loud city noises and it became almost deafening. Like they kind of the sound kept climaxing, if you will, or it kept crescendoing to a climax, and then these doors shut
And it's silent.
and it was silent,
Yes.
right? And then I may or may not have made this part up, but then the doors open and they're in like a wilderness area where it's just like peaceful, outdoor noises,
Right.
And the part of that stands out to me, of course, I don't remember the manufacturer, but it was this idea that the vehicle can transcend you, right?
Yeah.
Based on how that cabin is designed.
Sounds like a Subaru commercial.
Well, probably. If not, we're marketing for them now. But the thing is, that's a reality because they engineered that into the vehicle. Our Jeeps weren't engineered for that. Our Jeeps were engineered to climb the mountain and ford the river to transition you.
It's
Right.
kind of funny because that's one of my wife's pet peeves with the last 2 Jeeps I've had is when I try to call her and she's like, there's so much noise
Yes.
compared to her car. And I'm
Yes.
like, yep, it's a Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a customer and I think he said it best, and Jeffrey worked very diligently to get him a functioning hands-free ability. And his expectation was in line with the product offering itself.
The Jeep life.
And he was just like, hey, if I'm sitting at the outside the grocery store, I just want to be able to hit answer and have a brief conversation, be like, yep, I'm about to walk in the store, I'll talk to you later. Or that he can be driving and answer the call and just be like, I'm driving, I will reach back out to you soon.
Yeah.
And I think that that's valuable when it comes to Jeepers and appropriately setting the expectations for
Yes.
their audio installation.
Absolutely. In the comments here, I just want to jump in there. We've got a lot of comments. Jose is saying, hey guys, found your channel, new to Jeeping, hooked, bought a JL used, already has a 5-inch FabTech lift and suspension. It rides great. Can it be switched to long arm easily, or do I have to redo? And I think that's one that maybe, Jose, we can reach out to you separate from this podcast episode. But he also then says he also installed a complete DS18 system with soundbar and tailgate, 210s, 6.5s in the front dash and tweeters, and he loves it.
I do love that setup, and DS18's got some really trick packages that we've done installs with before.
Absolutely. Jerry is saying, love the new sign. First time I have been back to see it. You guys rock.
Thanks, Jerry.
Joe's saying, try making a hands-free call in a Jeep is fun. Giaga Jeepers, I think that was a Lexus commercial. Maybe it was Lexus.
I think they're right.
And then Amy is saying that air vents blow right over the mic and it sounds like a tornado in the background.
And that's
Yep.
true, And when we talk about Jeffrey is our audio, production extraordinaire, but and Davey does a good bit with mics and whatnot, but we know about noise canceling technologies. We know about placement of microphones, different, the ways that mics capture sound waves and whether they're capturing in 360 straight on, a number of things that, that you guys have taught us about these technologies.
Well, and honestly, with AI, the noise suppression capabilities are just getting better and better. So there are new products on the market constantly that are toting this new technology of AI noise cancellation or noise suppression. And honestly, some of it is better than what you could do in a recording studio
Interesting.
because of how it is able to pinpoint the exact frequencies in EQ. And a lot of stereos will come with, like a 3-channel EQ. Then they went to a 16 or 32-channel EQ. Now with like the Alpines, for example, ones that we do pretty often, there's a full graphic EQ system.
Yes.
And even that doesn't give you the ability to tune it as well as what these AI systems can, because they can go in and you have 0 to 20,000 kilohertz of sound, and AI can go in and pick 18,122 kilohertz and just get rid of that frequency. Whereas when we're doing it with the graphic EQ, we might be getting rid of the range of 16,000 to 18,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, or suppressing that range. Whereas AI can literally pinpoint the exact frequency that is causing that feedback or that wind noise or that other sound.
That's so amazing. Now, the question I have for our listeners at home, and maybe a little bit for you guys in here, I remember, first of all, we used to have the stereos that actually had dip switches for the EQ.
Yes.
Right? For
Yeah.
the 4-channel EQ.
Yeah.
Definitely on our stereos. But then when we went digitalized, then we had the 16-channel, and you can go into the settings and play with that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you actually ever appreciate your tuned version more than the 6 presets? They typically used to have it was jazz and rock and pop
And
Do you remember?
loud.
And loud.
Yes.
I just Neil Simpson always just put it on loud. I would play with the EQ settings and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's what's up. And then I would some other time, and that would be my custom sound setting.
Yeah.
And then I would just, whatever reason, I'd end up on those preset versions, and I just put it on loud. And be, oh, I like it on loud better.
So
Yeah.
What were you doing in your car?
You
Were
know what I was doing.
Were you really playing with your EQ in your car?
Yeah.
No way.
I always,
about you?
I always put it on loud.
The heck yeah.
Or bass.
Or, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And my wife, though, she is more like Jeff, where she would play with a little bit towards this speaker and a little bit towards that way, and then she would play with the treble and the bass and that kind of stuff.
So
at that point, I was just like,
Are our listeners doing that? I mean, how
I'm
many?
gonna tell you the reason that you did it the way you did it. All right, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Because you didn't know that subtractive EQ was better than additive EQ. You're going in and you're turning that bass way up, and now you're getting a muddied sound. You're turning that, you want to get that bass to it. So you're cranking the bass instead of subtracting.
you don't know me.
Correct. But that's why, is if you don't know audio, you assume that you want more bass, you turn the bass up.
Yeah.
No, you start with subtracting the sounds you don't want first.
I felt like that was a worthless feature of my stereo. Just put it on loud. Just let it ride.
Well, I will admit, after she played with settings and did all that stuff, it always sounded better.
And the benefit is now you can fine tune if you want to hear the lyrics better, or if you just really want to hear that bass beat, or if you want to hear that guitar, you can affect what stands out more in your system. If you have a different style of music, if you like country music, you're going to tune your EQ different than if you like rock music.
That's why I had a country setting.
That is why I had a country setting.
He's done.
So that's when it comes to doing the installs here at the shop, whether it be Greg or myself, we'll often ask the customer, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Yes.
And then we will try to tune it to that specific style of music for them.
I want to reiterate that because it's something I'm really proud of, and I do believe it is for us part of the art of audio installation is that you said it. You and Greg ask the customer, what kind of music do you listen to? What will you be doing the majority of the time with this vehicle? Because that is the art of the installation, right? You could tune it to how Jeffrey likes it all day long.
Yep.
You know, but if that doesn't sound good to the music that Jeffrey listens to, and you listen to something else, that is a different animal, you know?
If we're doing a complete overhaul of sound system, we will literally ask, what are your favorite songs? And we will download them onto Spotify or phone, whatever, and use that as our tuning guide. Obviously, we'll still use our own references for making sure that we're not going to blow your speakers with too much bass, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And fine-tuning that. But as far as what are your favorite songs, we don't care if we like that music or not. That's what we're using to set up your radio to get a quality sound out of it.
The other part that we have to think about that's different than, say, a normal 12-volt shop is, for example, a hashtag not a restoration. We put a powered sub in that. Well, there's no carpet. So you're not cheating and hiding wires and running power cables underneath carpet and just doing the lazy way. I had to figure out, okay, how do I not get it destroyed from foot traffic? How do I make it look nice? So literally on that Jeep, the wiring goes underneath the tub. I made a appropriate grommeted hole underneath the back seat. The wires come up in there, and that's how they are fed to that sub.
And I want to make sure we hammer home for our listeners the art of the install in the Jeeps and separating us from, again, the standard 12-volt shop is not only are we choosing the right head unit for you, because you were previously, along the chronological order of different styles and what might be appropriate to each one. And Jeffrey mentioned the big units of today and what do we call those, right? So as that keeps growing, we have that head unit conversation. Then we have the wiring, right? Because now we're adding all of this to a vehicle that might already have off-road headlights, and it might have, maybe some interior lights, a CB, a GMRS. You might be running an air compressor. There's a lot of wiring that goes into retrofitting it into the Jeep. And then we have to deal with environmental stuff. So again, bring that marine grade conversation. Is the top going to be off frequently? We need to make it sound better with the top off when you're cruising at the highway and wind is whipping past you. But B, if you do get rained on accidentally, nobody's ever purposely per se going out and soaking their Jeep.
Yes.
It's usually one of those, unintended, accidents.
But let's not put the amp on the floor under the seat.
But let's not put the amp on the floor.
Or if we have to, we have a conversation with the customer and we're like, hey, this is really our only option.
And
like
that's the thing is how do we make all this stuff compacted into the just the real estate that the Jeep offers? Because we're not driving grandma's Delta 88 anymore.
Yes,
Jeffrey.
For room for
Jeffrey had
815s in the trunk.
Right, and so your standard car 12-volt installation, you've got all the real estate. Also, the funny thing is we used to use MDF and particle board, or for lack of a better term, for a lot of our boxes. In fact, if you're in the Jeep community, you remember CJs and TJs, or CJs and YJs and TJs and all that. We had these basically particle board inspired boxes for 6x9s and 10s, and they were cheap and they mounted on the wheel wells.
You haven't lived until you've had one of those hit a rainstorm and swollen up like
absolutely.
crazy.
They just kind of delaminate and turn mushy.
Yeah.
Now a lot of it's a plastic or composite when you're ordering them now.
Yes, and you talk about Jose's kit with DS18. They have this beautiful molded piece that attaches to the tailgate. It opens, the tailgate opens and your 10s swing with it. If you're using a hinge upgrade like Rusty's or a handful of the other, manufacturers that we like that have the hinge upgrade that really reinforces that, you can have a big tire and subwoofers while maintaining some real estate on the floor.
Yep.
You have the composite, really popular in the side-by-side community are these pods, very expensive, but they mount on roll bars. Gives you a lot of versatility of where you locate them. Jeep obviously wised up in the more or less the YJ era. They gave us sound bars.
Yes.
And that's where we start seeing them pop into the Wrangler market is the late 90s, mid-90s.
That's when we actually got rear speakers.
Yeah, because otherwise Jeeps didn't have it. We just had dash speakers pushing back at us, and so by the TJ we had these really nice sound bars, and then they moved to a 2-pod piece, and then shortly after that, the JK gave us full sound bars and interior lights and a bunch of goodies. The challenge, not until the JK did we see a premium sound system made available by the manufacturer.
Yes.
Because as we've mentioned, hiding an amp, now, first of all, and again, limited I'm not a huge speaker head, but I liked my music. I liked the audio industry back in the day. Amps were big.
Huge.
They were huge.
They were so big, you use them as a display piece.
Yeah.
Because they made them pretty. And
you wanted to look at it because that was a big investment.
Yeah. The neon tubes.
I am just showing my age now. I am shocked and mystified how small amps are now.
We can hide it in the dash.
We
They're
hide them in
tiny.
the dash. We hide them in the center console. We saw, obviously in the TJ market, we had a powered subwoofer. It was this really peculiar. Let's be honest, folks. If you have a TJ and you had the powered subwoofer, it was a dumpster fire.
Compared to where we came from when we didn't even have back speakers, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Well, I mean, Jerry's comment says it best of where we came from. Audio expectations have become exponential from my early experience in the 60s. With adding the $20 reverberator to an AM radio, the results were miraculous.
right. We have come so far.
Yes.
And the Jeep community, we're a step behind what everybody else is doing. So when I say the Jeep community, I definitely mean like the Wrangler, more utilitarian inspired platforms, right? Grand Cherokee owners, I'm not talking to you. Don't pretend this shoe fits. Stop trying to wear it. I know I don't ever give you the respect on my videos, whatever. But in the Wrangler and utilitarian inspired, vehicle, our audio has increased, as Jerry said, exponentially over the years.
And that's why the TJ powered sub is now a dumpster fire, because we now know that the cone is
It was
terrible,
a paper cone,
terrible.
right? You
what-
brought that up earlier.
Why?
They put a paper cone in
the
a place-
console.
in the console. Schmutz comes off the seats. Rain comes in. It just didn't. It had no lasting power.
No, it was no way for the amp to get cool. It's in a plastic box.
Inside a plastic box. It had
We now-
mild output. It was okay.
We now know better.
Yeah.
And because of that, we can do better. But that also means that there's a lot you can drag unwillingly a TJ into being better than that.
Right. And as you had mentioned, our amps have become very small.
Yes.
Honestly, a little larger than a deck of cards.
And it depends on the amp you're looking for and how many speakers you're trying to power
Yes,
off of it and
that's
channels.
true.
But the other thing is, as far as we're talking about amps, part of that art of install is knowing what ohms we need on that amp, what output levels we need, what pairs well with the speakers that we're purchasing. And that's where companies like DS18 are doing well, because they just package it together for you. You pick the kit for your vehicle and you're good to go.
right.
But
It's
if you're
close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. Right.
But if you're going to get down to the nitty gritty, like we've done for our customers, and we'll mix and match brands and speakers and amps so that we can select that fine tuning, which ohm ratings we need, which output levels we need, and make sure that that all works together, getting the appropriate grade of wire for it and the appropriate locations, marine grade. If we have to, we've literally made custom mounts for amps
Many times.
Many times. because they don't always have a home, and we have to find a way to keep them protected from the elements.
I'm very proud of the custom mounts that our team has produced to, as you mentioned, keep them out of the elements. To if we can get them up off the floor, we do. Adding multiple amps to Jeeps is a challenge, but we've risen to that occasion. And so, I mean, back in the day, it was, your average Jeep owner, you had a head unit. Typically, if you had a CJ, you cut out a big giant single DIN square block, which makes you sad. And then you just had, MDF or particle board boxes and a sub box, and then you had an amp just kind of precariously mounted somewhere that got hit with debris and trail tools and, didn't have any lasting power. And as Jeffrey mentioned, now we can kind of put them in clean, safe homes, keep them up away from the trail gear, keep them out of the muck and the mire that you might track into your vehicle.
Yep.
The units, Jeffrey's done a lot of the Alpine Restyle packages. And I did want to mention, obviously, Insane Audio and DS18 have catered to the Jeep market well. I'm not sure if there's another brand out there. I mean, obviously, we try
Stinger,
to
we talked
prioritize.
about a little
Again,
bit.
yep, you're right. Thank you. Stinger has prioritized to the Jeep market. Alpine shares some OE manufacturing level. And I'm not as confident about what level that they're sharing information with the mothership at, like I am, say, Bestop. I kind of know exactly where they weigh into things, but I know Alpine is somewhere in the supply, logistics, informational chain.
I know they were at least really heavily handed in the JK market. I would say today we're not sure if they're still as heavy handed as they were then.
Fair.
So, and that's where we really see their expertise show with the JK, because they are able to integrate with the original stuff that's in the Jeep, your controls and that kind of stuff. And where other manufacturer might need a integration module and a bypass thing, or you might have to actually just get rid of the factory pieces and start again. And obviously some of that is with
I was going to say that literally is what you do with the Alpine, but the Alpine has this Restyle package that comes with everything you need. And if you do the Restyle package, you get your bypass that you need. You've got your Maestro module that helps it to integrate. You've got the adapter harnesses for that. It comes with the adapter for a rear camera if you want to install a rear camera in the JK where you don't always have one.
Yep.
So it gives you all these different things all in the box, plus the bezel to fit it. So whether it be just a little bezel adapter so it fits in nicely into the hole, or if it's the 509 Restyle where it's an entire bezel, center bezel, it replaces your little tray at the top and everything. It's all, you have to cut out the dash and put in this new piece.
Yes, it's really well thought out on all of it encompassing. But something else I wanted to bring up that's kind of changed with the times is you used to always, I remember looking at early Jeeps and they're like, well, where did they put the antenna? And it's this old, almost looks like a whip antenna for a CB, but it's miniature, and they drill random holes in the tub. They put them on there and they'd break because it's, again, aftermarket. It's just something they went to the Napa and picked up. To now we're having people literally ask us to fill radio holes as we're doing restorations, or just admit the radio antenna altogether because they have not listening to actual over the airwaves radio. They're streaming, they're using some sort of satellite option, that kind of stuff. So they don't even want an antenna on their vehicle.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing, isn't it?
Because they just don't use it.
Yeah, and that is where we have as a society changed, because now we can load songs onto a USB drive or onto our phone, and we can, as you mentioned, some type of satellite provided stereo service, or maybe we just sing along in the vehicle while we drive.
I like how we kind of skip from AM radios up to the digital era, but we never talked about cassettes. We never talked about CDs.
So
all the different types
I
of
want to
radios.
leave that stuff in the past.
He brings up a valid point, because I love vintage stuff. There's something to be said about being able to play a cassette in an appropriate vehicle era wise. Like my C10 has a cassette deck because sadly we put that in when I was in high school. So I have been donated by a bunch of customers and other people all their cassettes, and I am able to go through, and the kids think it's real novel to be able to put the cassette in there, and and it is new enough that we don't have to flip it over. It plays both sides, that kind of stuff. But there is something to be said that, and sadly we'll see this with CDs as well, where if you have a 2000s Jeep, it's something cool to be able to play a CD when most new radios don't have a spot to play a CD.
Right. They call that mechless.
Yes.
You like having the album of CDs that you have to flip through while you're trying to keep an eye on the road and find that CD.
You're just reliving the good old days.
Out of your Trapper Keeper designed for CDs.
Used to stuff it between the console and the seat.
Then you had the visor one.
The visor ones were awesome.
I still remember, because obviously Jeeps are not particularly secure. I still remember when our Jeep got broken into. They sliced a window, and one of the things they stole was the CDs on the visor.
Well, that's why back in the day you burned all your own CDs. You kept the good ones at home, so when you didn't scratch them all the crap. And then when that
Well,
one
that-
got stolen or
that-
destroyed, just burn a new one. You're
That,
good
and we
to
all
go.
knew that you didn't want to listen to the entire soundtrack on that, so you wanted to pick and choose what your favorite songs were
And then
and
you-
create your own mixes.
I think the reality is nobody actually wanted to steal Scott's CDs.
Well, that's also true because his CDs were all vintage. He was burning from cassette.
he
or
was
from
burning off an
8-track.
8-track at that point.
It's not
He's,
quite
he's
that
sitting
bad,
there with
but-
a recorder trying to get the vinyl to record to a CD.
That may have happened.
Oh, I think it's okay that we breezed past the technologies of old, because really the art of the audio install is how are our customers in the Jeep community now today? What are the products that are offering to them, and how and what should they be looking for in installation? Your wire shouldn't be all over the place. Your amp should not be free floating about the vehicle. It shouldn't be on the floor unless it absolutely has to. And then at that point in time, it really should be a sealed unit. You have sealed marine grade speakers that really are to your advantage. And our recommendation is to go with a reputable audio manufacturer who prioritizes the Jeep community, because ultimately they're bringing technologies to the development of their head units and their equipment with you in mind, right? If you're just going into, hey, these guys make a good stereo, well, that might be true. That might be true for your home stereo system, for your audio recording equipment, for inside your Grand Cherokee, but not necessarily inside your Wrangler. If you need any follow up with that or questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. We have our text only number 440-855-2100. Or you can always message Jeffrey directly if you have any questions about the podcast or suggestions of topics for the future. And you can reach him at jeffc@sfj4x4.com. All right, gentlemen, we have a quick activity for us to play. And the big challenge here is, Scott, do you know what an adverb is?
I've heard the word before, but I don't.
Do you know what an adjective is? Do you know what an informal noun? I thought about this in the process, and it was one of the
No,
things
I
I
know
was
what game we're
struggling
playing
with.
now.
I didn't
One of
know
the
we
things I
were
was
in
struggling with.
English class.
We have English class 101 today. And
He's going to ask us to pick words, not knowing the context of the statement, and then he's going to read us a story or paragraph, whatever, that the random words that we chose get inserted at predetermined locations.
I'm just gonna say I lose now because this is
No,
gonna be
it's not a win or
It's
lose.
not a win or lose.
It's how entertaining do we end up making this story.
Oh, this is gonna be bad.
Okay, so we're going
I
to start with an
apologize
easy one.
to all my English teachers right now because it's been 20 years.
That's
since I
okay.
did
It's sad that as soon as you started asking that, I knew exactly where you were going, though.
That's okay. I mean, I might be mistaken on some of my
Giaga Jeepers just called you out. You didn't watch Schoolhouse Rock?
Yeah, so we may or may not have had some of those products back in the day.
All right.
Anyway.
So for your first phrase, I'm gonna give you some hints along the way and stuff too. All right.
I'm gonna give you lots of hints.
I don't want to leave you high and dry. How does a story start? So we need a small phrase. How does a story start?
Once upon a time.
Don't tell us. Now Jeffrey used that. So Scott, you can't.
Oh, we're
You're
creating our
SOL.
own story.
Yeah, you're
I thought we
creating
were
your own.
combining.
You're creating your own story. Combining might be fun, but
I really thought that's what you were going to do. I thought you were going to have us alternate which.
Oh, no. I was gonna have us. All right, I need a number. You need to put a number down. Now you need an adverb. So an adverb is a descriptor that helps kind of explain a verb or an action. So an example of an adverb might be excitedly. If you put that down, you're not allowed to use that now.
So I did not put that down.
All right. Name someone you know. Now we need an adjective. Adjective might be something like great. Now you need to name a place or a location. I need another number. If you were to name a trail, what would you name a trail? You know, we've seen, you know, the Badger's Den, and we've seen Diamond Hill, and we've seen I don't know, whatever, right? You know, people come up with these trail bender, you know, whatever. Come up with these fun names. What would you name a trail? I need you to name another person that you know, not the person you already mentioned. Now we need an action. All right, you ready for this one?
No.
I need you to name one of our listeners
Oh, God.
or viewers or one of our regular customers, YouTube viewers, something to that effect.
Oh boy.
Scott, it cannot be your wife.
But I already used her.
Okay. I need a time frame.
Like era?
No, like 10 minutes, 2 hours, 3 days, whatever. Another number. Another adverb.
This is gonna be.
All right. I didn't realize we were gonna have so many words. I'm running out. I was writing too
You
big.
were doing good. You were doing good.
I was writing too big.
Jeff has the worst handwriting.
I do. I'm gonna
He
own
should be
that.
apologizing to his English teacher too.
Well, my
So,
English is good.
It was
my writing-
interestingly enough, this is called
Writing
an
teacher.
informal noun. I'm really throwing this out here today. An informal noun apparently is something like a jiffy. Like it was done in a jiffy. At least that's what the Google told me. I would not have been able to produce informal noun, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that one was tough. I wasn't.
But that's
ready.
why I'm giving you a little bit of a hint, you know? All right. I need you to name an SFJ employee.
I already did.
Well, then it has to be somebody else.
Ooh, I know what I'm gonna do. Okay.
And finally, an adverb.
My wife's just shaking her head at me right now. This is why I don't teach our kids this sort of stuff.
All right. Jeffrey, you are up first, sir.
Oh boy.
So you're going to go ahead and do your best to read the story. Scott, you got like 2 minutes to really figure this out. And you're going to insert your answers into the storyline.
We should have done two different stories if we weren't combining.
You know what? I was glad we got this done.
So, like all good stories, this one starts with once upon a time, there were 6 Jeep friends who loved to go off-roading. They hastily lived the Jeep life. One day, Scott said they knew a furry wheeling spot
Furry wheeling spot.
near Conneaut Beach. So the friends loaded up in their 13 Jeeps
6 friends, 13 Jeeps. Okay. Makes sense. They've been to Scott's house, apparently.
and hit the road for the secret wheeling spot called Ghoul Cavern.
Ghoul Cavern. Okay. Furries in Ghoul Cavern, Jeffrey. Wow. Okay. An exciting weekend at the Sheramontes.
As they drove, Neil's Jeep started to race.
That would come as no surprise.
Right?
Right?
Where I lost my spot now. Clearly, they needed rescued, and Dan Connect was just the Jeeper to do it.
Ah, thank you, Dan.
That's all true.
3 hours from the trailhead, the group got out 7 tools and stupidly got to work. The Jeep was fixed in a flash.
Perfect.
The group was on the road again. Soon they arrived at the trail immediately Savage's Jeep broke.
Well, it would come as no surprise because he drives a piece of junk Trailblazer.
Of course, the group was already knowingly to repair, and off they went for the best wheeling trip ever.
Oh, this is gonna be terrible.
That was excellent, Jeffrey. And
That went better than I expected.
The furries at Ghoul Cavern.
I
furry
just
trail,
wanna
I could-
apologize right now because this is gonna be bad. All right, like so, all good stories. This one starts with at the beginning.
Scott. Wow. Riveting.
There were 43
Holy crap.
Jeep friends who love to go off-roading.
Can't wait to see how many Jeeps they get into.
Right? I hope it's like 3.
Yeah.
They lived the Jeep life.
Hot live the Jeep life,
All
I
right.
guess.
One day, Jeff said they knew
Jeff does know a place called Ghoul Cavern where the furries are.
okay wheeling spot near Southington
It's a
Off-Road.
little meh. It's a little bit of a meh wheeling spot.
Yeah.
So the friends loaded up in their 57 Jeeps.
Oh,
More Jeeps and friends
more
again.
Jeeps than friends again. We've got room for everybody at this point.
And hit the road to the secret wheeling spot called Riverside.
God,
Sorry.
so exciting.
As they drove, Amy's Jeep started to goes from the trailhead.
Goes from the drill head.
The group
All
got
right.
out. Let's see, where am I? It's got out. I doesn't.
Did you
make
miss
sense.
one?
I think I missed one.
Just read through then.
The Jeep was fixed. Let's see. No, got out. 84 tools.
84 tools out of their 57 Jeeps, and all 43 got to hold at least. They actually got to hold 2.
Right?
They were well equipped.
Then got to work. The Jeep was fixed in quickly.
Quickly.
The group was on the road again. Soon they arrived at the trail. Immediately, Steve's Jeeps broke. That's an inside joke.
Steve's Jeep. Of course.
Of course, the group was already hour to repair, and off they went to the best wheeling trip ever.
Oh, Scott. Well done, sir. Well done indeed.
That was fun.
It was. It was exactly how I anticipated going. I always enjoyed Mad Libs when I was in school. I don't know if you guys.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
little books are fun.
Absolutely.
And I actually had pulled one in preparation of this, and it was super hysterical. It was actually about being a princess, and I thought that would have been really, really
That's
excellent. But I tried to kind of cater it a little bit towards more of our experience.
You wrote the story and just had the blanks filled out.
I did, yeah, right. I actually wrote it, and that's probably why it was choppy to sorts. But I tried to keep it kind of light and fun. And
No, I think it was good.
I mean, with Jeff, it flowed really nicely.
yeah, Jeff's was excellent because language and words.
It-
And
That's
on
not my
that
strong
note,
point.
But your strong point is fixing and building Jeeps, which is what we're off to do, folks. We had a great time with you. Join us again next Monday at 10:19 a.m. live on the Book of Faces and now on YouTube. You can catch this episode in your ear holes by Wednesday and cataloged on our I Speak Jeep YouTube channel by Friday. We got a lot of cool Jeeps to build. Tune in for Jeffrey's live tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon or so. Until then, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep up.